Oh, Bailey Bass is here. Hello, I can't wait to talk to you. I am so excited. Welcome, everyone. My name is Naz, and I am going to talk to the cast of Interview with a Vampire, the TV series on AMC. It is such a good show, and I can't wait to dig into all of it with the cast. Bailey Bass is going to be joining us. She's here. And then, of course, we are also going to be joined by Jacob Anderson and Sam Reid, who play Lestat, Louis. Bailey plays Claudia. If you guys haven't seen the show, it's absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I'm just waiting for all of them to join, and I'll let them in. But guys, please feel free. Oh, I see Bezibo says, hi from Thailand, fan of the show. Guys, feel free to ask questions because I do want to get to fan questions at the end. So yeah, Jacob Anderson is joined. Yay, I think the whole gang is here. The cast is it's just stellar, truly. So here we go. Here we go. Just accepting you guys. Let's see. Give me 1 second. You're working? Hi, Bailey. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's so good to see you again. We met at D23. I'm sure you met so many people that day. And Sam and Jacob, it is just such a pleasure to be in the presence of you guys are just the hottest vampire ever. Congratulations. Season 1 is certified fresh, 99% on the tomato meter. Can you guys hear me okay? I want to make sure before I start rambling, you guys can hear me okay? Good?
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. I can hear you guys okay. Jacob, you're a little, okay. I can see you guys. It's a little blurry, but hopefully it'll adjust. Certified fresh, 99%. You guys got renewed for season 2 before season 1 even aired. So congratulations. And for me, I first wanted to ask Jacob and Sam a question because you guys are very much vampire husbands in this, which I love because in the iconic film, their love, Louis and Lestat's love is very much alluded to. Wait, are you guys okay?
Yeah, no, we're good.
Jacob's just changing the camera angles. I'm not really sure why, but
I'm trying to get us both in.
yeah. Oh, we're in. Yeah.
Okay.
Such a lovely Louis. I feel it's so good. You did a good job. I'm actually shocked you guys both fit perfectly.
Kaylin Coleman joined. Sorry.
What?
Sorry, I just saw Kaylin Coleman joined. Plays Grace. Hi, Kaylin.
Oh, amazing. It's so fun. So basically, I wanted to ask Jacob and Sam, my first question is for you guys because I love that, the love between Louis and Lestat was just alluded to in the iconic film. So for people who didn't know, there was a film, Gen Z, with Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise and Kirsten Dunst. But their love was really just alluded to. You guys are totally just vampire husbands in this. And I love the longing that all of your characters have. And there's a line, Jacob, that Louis says. He says, his gaze tied a string around my lungs and I became immobilized or something. And I was like, ugh, that line. I wanted to ask all of you, how did you tap into the longing of your characters? Because I think that's why I love vampires. Humans in general, we're very sort of shy when it comes to admitting and pontificating, longing for something. And so that's what I love about all your characters, how unabashed their longing is. So Jacob, we'll start with you.
I think there's maybe all of us can sort of understand a longing for something, and a kind of I think what comes along with that as well is loss, and the idea of the fear of losing that also comes into it. I'm not really sure. I'm so bad at talking about acting, to be honest, that I'm I don't really know exactly how I tapped into it. But I think it's just finding the language really does it for you in a lot of cases. You say these things and you start to believe them. As you say it, you're like, oh yeah, that makes complete sense. I can completely get lost in that thought.
Mm-hmm.
It's just beautiful writing, and it's so romantic, and Anne Rice was such a romantic writer for somebody that wrote such dark stories. Yeah, you just lean into the language.
Yeah, there is a lot of romance in the darkness. Sam, what about you? And then we'll go to Bailey.
With about the longing, I mean, I guess they live forever, you know, or they've been alive for a long time. So, like the vampires experience things, I think, probably in a more extreme way, because you know, if you're bored, you're really bored because you're like bored with like, you know, 50 years of boredom. Or if you really want someone, you're like really, really want them because you've been wanting them for like, you know, 10, 20, 100 years. So I think, yeah, I think it's just sort of like always when you think about an emotional experience of that character, you're kind of like adding on immortality on top of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the immortality exacerbates it. Bailey,
Yeah.
what about you?
I think Sam put it very well. The fact that like when they're bored, they're really bored. When they want someone, they really want someone. But Claudia is stuck with that and will always be stuck with that. Plus having the hormones of a 14-year-old for the rest of her life. And because of that, it's even more extreme. And you see that with every emotion and every relationship that Claudia has. You see that between her dialogue with Lestat, Louis, and got to tap in. We were so lucky to tap into what love meant for Claudia with her relationship with Charlie in episode 4 and how that devastated her, how that ended. And I'm happy we did that because I think it helped audiences understand Claudia even more and why she does the things she does.
Right. And your chemistry, but I mean, all of you guys, I think that's something, sometimes you watch things and you know, you don't feel it. But it's very visceral watching this show. Like you guys have incredible chemistry that I wanted to know what did you guys have chemistry tests? And if so, can you share what those were like? I'm always so fascinated.
Our chemistry test was so chaotic.
Yeah.
It was
Really?
so,
Why?
it was, what is it like? We did all of it over Zoom.
Yeah.
And like Sam was in Australia and I was in London. And then when me and Sam then did a chemistry test with Bailey and I was in Wales. I mean, that's not a different time zone to London, is it? But I was in Wales, Sam was in Australia, Bailey's in the States. And it just, so you're on completely different time zones. You're in completely different like states of mind because of whatever the time of day it is.
Yeah, and there's a lag, you know, the internet lag is
Yeah.
not good for creating chemistry. It's very awkward. So
It's the worst. I think during the pandemic, I was like meeting people on FaceTime to try and date. And I was like, this could go either way. Like this setting that all three of us are in as an interviewer, like I'd rather be with you guys in person. But sometimes you can create intimacy here. And now I'm just thinking about how meta this is, how I'm interviewing people playing vampires in a show called Interview with a Vampire, which is kind of funny.
we really that much, actually.
No.
Yeah, weirdly, people don't say that as much as you would expect.
There was
right, like it's crazy.
But Alan said something once. Alan Taylor said something about like I asked him. I was like, how did you do that? Like, how did you guys decide that it was the right thing? And he was like, to be honest, by that point, because we did like 8 rounds of auditions. It's like he was like, by that point, it was more about the things that the way that you interacted when you weren't doing the scenes.
Right.
Like it was about how you listened to each other, but just that we just got on, like we were pretty comfortable between the things, even though both me and Sam were like anxiously like playing with spools of wool.
I had blue tack.
Yeah.
Like I was like, we both had little like fidget toys.
Yeah.
Which
That's
is the cool
funny.
in control an environment like over Zoom or something like that, where you might be really nervous, but you don't want to come across really nervous. And so
yeah, you always have like a little pen you could be like messing with down here. No, it's so funny, and in a way, it probably created more tension when you guys finally did get to meet in person. So that's really cool. Thanks for sharing that. I am always also so captivated by the perils of immortality that vampires have to deal with, and so I was wondering how playing this role for the three of you made you think about your own life and being mortal.
Well,
Bailey.
I knew that I would never want to be a vampire just by Claudia. I mean, she's such a heartbreaking character. I mean, it's devastating everything that she goes through in the season. And it made me appreciate the little moments in life. But I think also she did that too, because we did so many night shoots. So much so that one time our call time was like in the middle of the day where the sun was up, and like
Mhm.
my eyes were hurting because I didn't want to see the sun because we were doing some night shoots. So I've learned to appreciate nature a little bit more, but that's good.
Yeah. What about you guys?
Like, for me, I think the idea of being like, I suppose, like an anxious vampire, which I guess they all actually have a bit of a sort of anxious disposition. I think the idea of like having Levin, hi Levin,
Levin.
Levin Akin. Sorry, it's really distracting.
Isn't it gnarly? People love you guys.
My neighbor's here.
Hi, neighbor.
Paul. But yeah, like I think the idea of like having to reflect on your existence, if that's already a part of your kind of thought patterns, that you're constantly reflecting on who you are, what you've done.
Mhm.
Like I think the idea of doing that forever is either a really amazing thought or a really frightening thought.
Yeah.
Like I think therapeutically, I love the idea of like you just have forever to kind of reflect and to like try and be a better person and to think about who you've been and how you could be something different. But then anxiously, it's a nightmare. It's a living nightmare.
It is. It's like, it's a trap. But then sometimes I think I'm like, but we're eternal. So like, are we all just all vampires too? There's so much that you could like dive deep into. I also wanted to ask you guys, this may be silly, but sometimes when I get my hair and makeup done, I love it so much that I get sad at the end of the day when I have to take it off. And I'm like, you guys quite literally have the coolest costumes, hair and makeup, contact lenses. Like, to be able to embody a vampire for work, to me, is like so cool. Do you ever feel the same? And do people treat you on set differently when you're in costume, you know, or when you're in sort of this vampire armor? Sam?
Um, um, yeah, I think so. I don't know if people treat you differently because, you know, not really, because, you know, it's everyone's aware of like the game that you're playing. You know, I don't, you know, totally believe, because these are pretty crazy characters. But,
Someone goes, Sam, you're a vampire, admit it.
Yeah, but okay. But you know, like it's definitely the more we went on, like for me, like I tried to do less and less to reduce the amount of time I had in the morning or the evening to start work. So like, you know, Bailey and I both got like the actual real acrylic nails, so we had them on, but they even popped off heaps of times during the shoot, because there's so much stuff like that. So that reduced the time. But I had to live with them for 6 months, and they're not like, they were sort of like these sort of white, sharp, like claw-like things.
Yeah.
That was a weird thing. Yeah. Yeah. It's a weird thing to get used to. You know, and so you didn't really get to take them off, and like, you know, my hair grew out, and so I ended up having the hair. So you had less and less time, but the contact lenses, I think, is the thing that people really were like blown away by when you're speaking to them. You know, and a lot of the time you'd speak something they didn't realize, and then, you know, whether they were like a supporting artist who came on, or, you know, or like, you know, somebody who wasn't there all the time, they didn't know.
Yeah.
You know, and then they would clock it, and then they'd think, well, something's weird. Or when we were like shooting out in the French Quarter, and you'd walk past, you know, people in the street, you know, and they sort of walk past us a lot of the time. We were coming in and out of the trailers or walking to set, and they would be like, "They're a vampire. That's a vampire. That's a vampire." Because you know, you clearly, you know.
Yeah. You mean like people are doing in the comments right now because everyone thinks you're possessed by Lestat? They're like, blink twice if you're not possessed. I have so many questions, and I know I don't have that much more time with you guys. Bailey, I want to ask you about season 2. Jacob, I want to ask you, Louis has this like incredible tension where it's like this torn tension, right? Where he's just sort of like torn always. And I was wondering if you ever felt that way between your acting and music career.
I feel like I'm a little bit torn about everything. Like, I think that's kind of uh, my natural state is I'm like, okay, what does this mean? And then what does it, no, but if I do that, then that means that this thing is like taken out of the, but no, I think actually it really suits me because I just want to be able to express myself and feel like understood on some level, which again I think kind of is quite similar to Louis. So however that kind of manifests, it is how it manifests, and it's good for me, I think, to take like sort of breaks and do this thing and then do this thing and do this thing. But I'm often like thinking about the other thing when I'm doing one thing.
The one thing, yeah. Such
Yeah.
is life. It's crazy. Bailey, someone was like, please drop your skincare routine because you're glowing. You seriously are. You look incredible. What else did I want? Sam, I wanted to ask you, because I know you read the books as a child and then you went back and read them, and you said that Anne Rice, just like Mary Shelley, very much put the perspective back into the monster. And I think, Jacob, you said Anne Rice made some of the most human monsters that we've ever seen. Was there a line when you went back and read the book, Sam, that stuck out to you that helped you find Lestat's voice?
Oh, there's like so many, but I think for me the thing that I really like held on to was in the Vampire Lestat. He has like this, as a human, he has like a really intense existential crisis, and it sort of like sets him up to be this person who he sort of, his life is constantly unraveling as it's going, and it's like he's like a train wreck. You know, he just can't help but fuck it up every time. It's like just when he thinks he's gonna get it, gonna make it work, he does something like really terrible. It's like he's like masochistic. He just really needs to
Self-sabotage.
Yeah, self-sabotage. And I think it was, you know, the idea that you know, having this existential crisis in this place where these witches were burnt, and the only thing that pulls him out of it is, you know, dancing wildly to violin. There's just something about that I always thought about, you know, like when you're feeling like your life is going down, you know, like a really scary place. If you act incredibly chaotically, you kind of you're competing with the chaos that you can't control. And I just, wow, this is an amazingly bizarre character.
Very relatable.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I do relate to it in a way. It's a bit like, you know, like you do feel just like sometimes you feel a bit like a train wreck, and there's nothing you can do about it. So you either lean into it or you fight it, and that tends to lean into chaos. Which I just think, you know, Anne Rice just wrote very beautifully, and Roland, I think, translates that well. He was always like, you know, he's a mess. Let's never make him too clean. Let's like always make him a hot mess, basically.
Yeah. God, it must be so freeing to play that. You guys bring such emotional intensity and complexity, even though like vampires in a general sense are somewhat campy. And like, I think that's why so many people connect to the show. I want to take some fan questions, but before, Bailey, what can you tell us about season 2? I know you guys are probably shooting in like some crazy fun places. Like, what can you guys tell us?
I'm just very excited to play Claudia again. It was very intense doing this character. I learned a lot about myself, and I was challenged in ways. I mean, I was doing scenes, especially in episode 4, that I didn't even know I was capable of succeeding at that level. And I did, and I was really proud of myself, and I learned a lot about myself, but also grew as an actor. So then watch the show now, and I've been watching every episode on AMC Plus as it's coming out, so I can experience it with the fans.
Wow.
See how much people love Claudia. I have a newfound love for her. So I'm excited, challenged again as an actor, but I'm also excited to just live in that beautiful space in this immortal universe.
And to embody a character that so many people connect with. I love that you said that you're proud of yourself. I think often we don't say that out loud enough about ourselves. And so I think that was really beautiful, and you should be proud of yourself. One of the questions someone asked, Allison Bunce would like to know, what was the most memorable scene to film? Jacob, maybe you can answer this one.
They're all pretty memorable, to be fair. Like, see back of my brain, front of my brain. I think, to be honest, not to. I wish that I had something that it was the three of us were doing. But the thing that I think, like, for me, really set the tone for the rest of the shoot was the church scene. I think it was like we got to sort of practice. I think all of the dynamics that are present in the characters and in the show, they're all contained in that scene. There's a bit of in that scene, and there was like mad stunts. It was really late. That was one of the longer days.
We shot it over like 4 days, and we 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, a very long day. It was in. There was like, there's the romance, there's brutality, there's like, it just, everything was in it, and we shot that kind of at the beginning. It was like, okay, I feel like that's the point at which me and you were like, this is what we're doing. Okay, right.
Wow.
Yeah, and we're able to lock into it.
Right.
Yeah, it was a start. We're like, oh, okay, this is hectic. Yeah.
I love it. Everyone's just saying Emmys all around. You're killing it. Some people are saying favorite scene. Last question I'll ask you guys. I wish I had so much more time with you. If you had to add one thing to your costumes, what would it be? That's what Sea Lace would like to know.
What if we had to add one thing to the costume? If you had to add, I think for me, like, in terms of Lestat, like, Carol did an extraordinary job. But it wasn't really Lestat's time period. So it was, I think, we're trying to work out, like, how does Lestat exist during this period of time? So I think when we started to look at those 1790s kind of like thing that we pull out in the ball, that we will eventually get to see a little bit more of. I think I'd like to see him more in that period of time, in the 18th century. Yeah.
Amazing. I love it. Well, I'm so sad we have no more time left, but you guys, thank you so much. Congratulations on a stellar show. We can't wait for season 2, and thank you guys so much for stopping by to talk.
Thank you. I feel so much like we're like, okay, sweetie, make sure you eat your food. Make sure you eat some grub. Okay, we love you, sweetie. Okay, bye.
Call on.
Bye. Love you, Dad. Bye, Mom.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.